Hey, Butch Patrick here, and this one is kind of unique in the fact that I'm going to talk about what it was like for me to be a kid actor in certain shows that I was on. I worked from 1961 to 1974 really consistently, and in that time everybody knows about the Munsters was in the middle, and there was like the Real McCoys before in General Hospital, and then a few years of My Three Sons after. But the biggest week of my life was in 1968. I went up for an interview to be on the Monkees. Now, the Monkees at the time were as big as the Beatles, maybe even larger in the States because they had their own TV show. There was the second season. Music was, they were like on the charts. They were all over the place on all the magazines, and they were huge. And I had missed meeting the Beatles a couple of years before at Universal, so this kind of was gonna make up for it. So I gave it my all. I went on this interview, and I wound up getting it. It was funny because normally I would never tell kids at school what I was doing. I kept it pretty private. But that particular day, everybody at Perry Junior High knew I was going to be working with the Monkees. And I remember Sally Field was dating Davy Jones at the time, and she would come over in her flying nun outfit. So Davy and Sally were quite the item. If you haven't seen the Monkees Christmas episode, you need to watch it. It's got a couple of neat things going for it. It's basically based around me and the Monkees. They were hired to babysit me, even though I'm like 14 years old. So I'm in all the scenes with them. I'm interacting with them as an equal. And this was great for me because it allowed me to really get to know them. And second of all, it was a unique episode because it featured a couple of unique things. Number one, at the end of the episode, they sing Ryu Chiu a cappella for everybody, and they do it really, really well. But after that, they start talking to the camera, and they invite everybody from behind the scenes to come on camera to introduce the monkey crew to the world, like breaking down the fourth wall.
Go get the guys every day.
Lippy, come here.
Irving Lippman, the cameraman.
This is Irving Lippman, our cameraman. And Pat Plummer, and big singer.
It showed the world, and it showed me, this was the type of guys they were. They were really likable, they were really easygoing, they loved the idea, they loved spontaneity, and they liked doing things out of the ordinary. So if you get a chance to watch the Monkees Christmas episode, you really need to see it. It's a good one. Now since then, over the years, I obviously, at the time, Peter was my favorite because he was like the hippie and the love beads and the squaw boots and stuff. Davey was the little guy, so he and I actually, when I would see him afterwards, he would always call me the little chap, even though I was taller than he was as soon as I turned 18. Mike Nesmith, not so much. He went off to do his own thing, and he was very progressive in the early days of videotape. He was really in the forefront and cutting edge stuff of doing a lot of neat things. Mickey, another child actor like myself from Circus Boy, and I had a bond. And over the years, we've seen each other a lot, and especially the last few years when he's been doing his tour, and I've been seeing him a lot. We actually did a karaoke, I do karaoke. Mickey does karaoke, and he does it for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and a few years ago we were lucky enough to do it together. He goes all over the country. He's super with the fans. He just turned 75, but you wouldn't guess it. A super personable guy, probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and he's got a huge following. It's interesting, if you haven't followed the Monkees, you really need to check up on them because they're doing some good stuff, and they've never been more popular. In fact, we're still trying to get them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that's another story in itself. The Monkees Christmas episode is probably my favorite thing other than the Munsters, but for a one-shot thing, it's probably my proudest moment.
I had the most marvelous time.
Did you?
You want to hear about it? We turned the Christmas tree, and Peter rode on his motorcycle.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the segment, and as always, we really appreciate you watching. We'll be bringing you more in the future, and if you get a chance, please share with your friends, subscribe, and ring the bell.